Shalom. Call Haloyam La Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachak Wadash. Double honors unto our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Much peace and blessings to all you sincere Akim out there that's pushing this 100% truth with all sincerity, faith, and with charity. This is your brother Ash from the Great Millstone Miami Camp, coming back with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to the elect. What I want to speak on in this lesson, which I don't have many precepts lined up, but this is just something that has been on my spirit for the past couple of weeks. And, the spirit is on me to speak on it. And it's something that we should all know, but through the spirit, I want to remind the hopeful elect that this was all a tryout. This was all part of the tryouts. And what I mean by that is, using the analogy of sports, whether it be high school sports, which I wasn't big into sports, but I know a lot of brothers were, so a few brothers were. And even if you weren't, you should understand or know about the concept of having to try out to actually become an official member of the sport team, whether it be football, basketball, whatever sport they had in high school, right? Let's say if you were wanting to be on a basketball team or the football team or whatever sport, swimming, whatever, wrestling, you couldn't just say, I want to be part of the team, and the coach just say, okay, cool, what position you want to play? Nah, it never worked like that. It never works like that when it comes to sports, and it doesn't work like that when it comes to being a part of the team of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And by the team of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, I'm speaking of the elect, but first and foremost the 144,000, 12,000 men of each of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, which are going to be the governing body of the nation of Israel, which the nation of Israel being the chosen nation of the Lord, that is going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. You're going to have millions and millions of people, men, women, and children, that are going to ultimately receive salvation and be a part of the elect. But that governing body, the 144,000, that's a small number compared to the rest of the elect, which you have. Brothers have brought out how that's about, I believe, brothers have said that's basically the amount of seats or amount of people you can fit inside of the Dallas Cowboys stadium, right? So that's a small number, especially when you consider that it's 12,000 of each tribe. So really your chance, because you can only be of one tribe, so really your chances is not 1 in 144,000. Your chances is really 1 in 12,000. Whatever tribe you from, you're basically competing to be a spot within that 12,000. So when you consider that, that's even much slimmer chances to actually be a part of that number. And we know that those men the Lord is going to raise up. A lot of those men are walking the earth right now. Some of them are in the spiritual realm. We can't say how many are actually on the earth, but we know that those men, before they get raised up to actually be those kings and priests, those gods on earth, with that power, with that new body, with that rod of iron and that crown from Yahweh Shai to actually execute judgment in the earth, before all that comes, those men would be prophesying. They would be going out on the streets and preaching about the kingdom of heaven and putting their, making their bodies a living sacrifice to usher in the kingdom of heaven. So, first of all, you got to be a prophet. Before you can actually be a king and a priest, you have to be a prophet. So those men would be prophesying, and starting with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and the brothers on down, we believe through the spirit of power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai that those are the prophets. That is your house of David. Okay? And it may, the scripture said that these men would be lowly. They would, just like you read in the scriptures when you read the story of King David, when you read how he went from being a keeper of sheep, keeper of his father's sheep, and the Lord took him from that low estate, raised him up into a mighty warrior in Saul's army, King Saul's army, and then rose him up even higher to take Saul's place as king of the nation of Israel. Right? When you actually read that story, you read about how we know the story that King Saul was persecuting David because he was envious of him. He envied the fact that the Lord was dealing with David and not him. Even though Saul was being wicked, the Lord didn't remove him from that position and set up David for no reason. But instead of taking accountability for his own sins and repenting, he sought to slay David. And we know about how David was on a run from Saul for years, right? But the scriptures tell you about the men that followed King David. At that time, which the scriptures tell you how he reigned in Hebron for, I believe, 7 years, and then 33 years in Jerusalem, right? But the scriptures tell you about the men that came to follow David. They were, roughly paraphrasing, they were in debt. They were distressed, right? If they were back on earth today, people would call them bums. People would say they had no lives. They needed to get their life together. Whoop-de-whoop. So it's no different today. Even though brothers have jobs, certain brothers actually are doing pretty decent financially, more than others. But all in all, the prophets would look like regular men. They wouldn't stand out in a carnal sense from the rest of the world. But that's a test to the integrity of the nation of Israel, because the elect will not care about that. The elect are only going to care about the words that these men are speaking, and really nothing else matters. So again, we believe these men are the apostles and elders of GMS and the brothers on down, and those that preach the same doctrine, right? Through the Spirit, with that being said, through the Spirit, this is something I've just been meditating on, that this was all a tryout for those of us that are actually doing this thing, actually preaching this word, actually getting your hands dirty, so to speak, right? Like on a job, you got men that's in the office at a cubicle, right? And maybe part of the same company, but you got the men that actually, on the front line doing the grunt work, boots on the ground. The 144,000, the prophets, they actually had their boots on the ground. Not like Bishop Nathaniel that, only steps foot on the streets and actually teaches when they're so-called breaking ground in a new country or whatever, right? Jet setting. But on a routine basis, week in and week out, in season, out of season, he's not going out on the streets preaching. He isn't getting his hands dirty anymore, spiritually. But our apostles and elders go out faithfully every week. Never took a break. So, through the Spirit, I've been doing some meditating these past couple weeks, and the Spirit has been heavy on me to think about these things, but I want to say it. I want to put it in video. I hope brothers are keeping this in mind. The whole time I've been in this, I'm seeing this whole time that I've been in this truth. I'm speaking about myself, but I'm speaking as brothers, as a collective. Starting with the brothers that I've dealt with over the years personally. And of course, all the sincere brothers, across the globe. We have to remember and not be ignorant, not get complacent, and not forget the fact that just like in a sport analogy or even acting, you have to audition to get a role. And you do your audition, and once it's over, and then you have to, once you're judged, you have to be approved for that audition. And it's only, for each role, it's only one audition, right? For a position on a sports team, of course, you have first string, second string, but for each position, you can only try out for, one position, one or two positions, maybe one on offense, one on defense. But you're competing with others, and you may play in the tryout. They may have a game, an actual tryout game, and you could, be playing in the game and forget that it's a tryout. You think that you're actually on the team. And, of course, we've been in this thing for how many years you've been around. Talking to myself first, I hope brothers have not forgotten that. We are not on the team yet. So through the Spirit, the Lord is sitting back and he's observing who is fit to actually be on the team. I believe through the Spirit that very soon the Lord is going to take this thing of ours to a whole new level. As the scriptures say, from glory to glory. I believe that in terms of the Spirit and the Most High dealing with us as a on an individual level, but on a group level, how the Lord actually is pouring out his Spirit, I believe it's really nothing compared to what the Lord is about to do. I believe through the Spirit that on this side, before Yahushua comes back, before the chariots pull up to deliver the elect. The Lord is getting ready to pour out his spirit on a level that this earth has never seen. The Lord is going to raise brothers up on a level that is going to blow our mind. And when that takes place, it's not going to be a question of whether the Lord is dealing with. You're going to know the Lord. You're going to know who the Lord is dealing with. If it's a global famine, nobody's eating, but you have a group of men that's multiplying food and finding food out of thin air, eating in miraculous ways, it's going to be evident that the Lord is dealing with those men. Of course, we have to remain humble, Lord, when we be part of those men, but you're going to know if the Lord is with you or not. But I believe before we actually get to that level, we're going to find out if we actually made the tryout or not. The Lord is going to show us, okay, all right, now you're about to be on the team. You made the cut. You made the cut. You didn't make the cut. You didn't make the cut. You made the cut. Yeah, you good. And that reminds me of the dream that brother from Minavella had, right? Which is heavy. I've been thinking about that dream a lot, but it made perfect sense. When you go back to the dream, after he was speaking about how different brothers got approved and they got a garment. I think he said they gave them new garments. That's like you getting on the team, you getting your uniform and whatnot, your jersey, your number, right? You get your number, meaning you on the team. That was, and when he was saying it, that was all before the Lord actually came back. And they said after that, they were like in the room waiting for the Lord to come back, but they knew they were good. I see that coming. I can see that actually taking place like that. You know? We're going to find out, you know, the tryouts. We're going to find out how did we do. But you have to remember that this is a tryout. You have to remember that our spots are not secure. We're still auditioning for the role. Brothers talk about spiritual power. Brothers talk about miracles and Isaiah 4:1 and multitudes. Before all that happens, we're going to find out if you are actually worthy of that. The Lord is going to actually show us, talking to myself first, if we actually going to take part of that. Before that huge upgrade in the spirit comes, the Lord is trying us. Okay? So I know I said a lot. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 32, and verse 18. A man of counsel will be considerate, but a strange and proud man is not daunted with fear. Even when of himself he have done without counsel. So a man that's in the right spirit, a man of the elect, is going to be considerate, meaning he's going to consider the fact that I might not make it. There's a chance I might not make it. Just like when Yahushua, you know, at the Passover dinner, which that's the spirit Passover, is right around the corner. That's another thing, right? Which through the spirit, which this one is what, on the day of a blood moon? The following, which really the same day, that the next night is going to be a blood moon. Sometime, you know, because you have the Passover coming at the 13th at evening, and the blood moon is set for the 14th, which is the day of the Passover. So it's heavy. The spirit is very heavy. But just like with the Lord's Passover, Yahushua, I believe it was at the Passover, Yahushua told them that one of you was going to betray me. And he said, you know, when you read the story, you had different men saying, is it me? Is it me? I hope it's not me. Right? So they were considering that it could be them. But we can't read that Judas had that. He didn't have that, had that mentality. So going back to the brother's dream, he spoke about the men that didn't get approved, the men that didn't make the tryout. They were bugging out. They were bugging out, and they were trying to explain themselves and prove themselves right then and there. So that goes to show you that those men didn't consider that they might not be part of the elect. They never considered it. That's why it came to a shock to them. If a man was really considering, if those men were really considering that they may not be part of the elect, when that time came, they wouldn't be trying to prove themselves or explain themselves. They'll just be like, damn, well, and walk off into the sunset, which is still a scary thing. But the fact that they bugging out and trying to explain themselves, that means you didn't even consider that. That came as a total shock. But the scripture saying, prudent man is not going to move like that. I read it again, Sirach 32:18. A man of counsel will be considerate. Meaning you considering all scenarios. You're not afraid to have those dark thoughts, you know, and look in the mirror and act. That's a part of examining yourself. That's a part of counting the cost. That's why we say the hopeful elect. We don't just say it because it sounds cool. We say that because we don't know. Meaning we're considering the whole matter. But a strange and proud man is not daunted with fear, even when of himself he have done without counsel. So a man that's not of the elect, of course you got men that basically just walk up to the sunset. They know this is not for them and they just dip. But you're gonna also have men that really, you know, really, they just know they part of the elect. They just know they part of the elect, and you can't tell them otherwise, no matter how wicked they are. Which is pride, and that's a demon that the Lord has on those men. So we have to check ourselves. We have to remember this is just a tryout. Okay? Let me get another precept. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3. And let's get to the point, verse 17, which, you know, this whole chapter is good. Revelation 2, Revelation 3, these are very fearful scriptures. This is all red letter. This is Yahushua speaking. Speaking to the different churches, telling them you're doing good on this. Some, I believe the church of Philadelphia was the only church he didn't really have nothing bad to say about him, if I'm not mistaken. Right? But, you know, most of the churches he was saying good things about them, but it was some bad things about him too. And he said, you're doing good right here, but if you don't fix this, I'm gonna remove the spirit from you. You're not gonna make it, which is a scary thing. That you can be doing X, Y, Z right, but this one thing you're doing wrong could keep you from making it. So that means even if you doing damn near everything right on point, you still have to consider that you might not make it if you don't do this or that. Okay, which before I read this, let me go back, right? Because I had this too, which is basically Sirach 32 and 18, the same verse, but in the Good News translation, it says, sensible people will consider every opinion, the good, the bad, and the uglier. Right? But arrogant people will let nothing stand in their way. Never do anything without thinking it through. And once you have done something, don't look back and wish you had done something else. You know, if you think something all the way through and you make a decision, stick with it. Stand on it. Right? Don't take a course of action that is dangerous, and don't make the same mistake twice. And this is the key point, verse 21. Don't be too sure of yourself, even when the way looks easy. You see that? Don't be too sure of yourself, even when the way looks easy. So, you know, even the Apostle Paul said that. If let every man take heed, roughly paraphrasing, lest he fall. Right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 11. Now all these things happen unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. You see that? So we can never be too sure. We can never say we just know we're gonna make it. Also, what the Apostle Paul said was this. He said also, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and 12. It says, for we dare not make ourselves of the number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves. Right? In the NLT it says, oh, don't worry, we wouldn't dare say that we are as wonderful as these other men who tell you how important they are. So, you know, that's why we say the hopeful elect. So going back to Revelation 3:17, it says, because thou sayest, I am rich and increase with goods, and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Okay, so if we think that we don't need, if we think we good, if we think that we just on point, and you may not say that outwardly with your mouth, but if your actions say that, actions speak louder than the words. If you moving in a way where you just think that you're good, that you on the team, nobody's on the team. Nobody made it on the team. The apostles and elders will still tell you they're still learning and growing. Nobody has made it on the team. So we don't know. And we should be moving with that fear. Remembering this is just a tryout. We have yet to see if we actually made the team or not. But the Lord said, just because you are blind and wretched and poor, naked, you know, spiritually you're not on the level that you should be, that don't mean that you're not going to make it. But you have to acknowledge those things so that the Lord can raise you up on the level to where you're worthy to make it. But if you don't acknowledge that, then you can't grow to that level where you need to be in order to make it. Okay? So, you know, this lesson went on much longer than I planned. But that's the spirit. And I hope it was edifying. With that, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Wadash, until the next one, Shalom.